Sorry, what was that, Landon? Hi, Landon.
Hi.
Hi.
My first question is, what are the hidden coins for?
What are the hidden coins for? That's a good question. I've not been asked that one before either. The hidden coins are just for a little bit of extra fun, and it's called an Easter egg. When you're talking about apps, there's a term for it, or games, where something is hidden that you have to discover. And so it was just a little bit of an extra fun. And I have to say that I actually find the hidden coins a little bit hard to find. Have you been able to find any, Landon?
I found all of them.
Did you? Wow.
Even in the cave thing.
Oh, wow. That's very good. Well done. Because, it's been a while since I went looking for them, and the other day I was trying to find them, and I couldn't find a couple of them. But up in the very top of the app, there's a little blue bar that says hint, and if you click on hint, it'll show you. Yes, terrific question. Y'all are full of good questions. Thank you, everybody.
How did you do your design? And how did you design your voice?
How did we design the voice?
Voices.
Voices.
The voices of the characters.
Okay, so the voices of the characters. I worked with a friend of mine named Jeff Wanberg. Now, Jeff worked in Hollywood for years doing sound and voice and, choosing voices and lots of sound effects and that sort of thing. So what he did was he went out and we had some different voice artist talent do auditions for us. And so I knew what type of voice I wanted. I knew Treasure Kai was going to be narrated by a man. It's just how I heard it in my voice or in my head, and that's what Jeff thought as well. So we had different people audition for the role of the narrator and for Treasure Kai, and then selected from there. And I knew with with Kate, one of the things that I learned that I didn't know is that often a little boy character will be narrated by a female. So the character of Kate is actually read by a woman named Diane De Silva. So I think I've got a couple photos of that on my website. If I don't, I should put them on there. Yes, but that's how we do the voices.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Grace.
Hi, Grace.
How did you create the illustration, especially the shark?
How did I create the illustrations, especially the shark? Is that the question? Yes.
That's correct.
Okay, so I worked with the illustrator. His name is Vic Giza. And I found him through a company that I was working with called Dragon Pencil. And what happened was when it came to selecting an illustrator, I talked to a number of different illustrators and I looked at a lot of their work. And there was one face on one illustration that Vic had done that really captured my heart. So I started working with Vic. And I told him the style of illustrations I was thinking about, but then I left it to him to create Treasure Kai and the illustrations. Now, it's interesting you mentioned the shark, because the shark illustration is one of the very first ones that he did. And at the time, I didn't have a title for the book yet. I had not entitled it Treasure Kai and the Lost Gold of Shark Island. In fact, it took about 9 months to come up with a title for the book. But I will never forget when he sent through the pencil drawing of the shark, because he had the shark coming out of the water and Kai was on the boat looking up, and it just took my breath away, and I knew right away that that was going to be the cover of the book. So for me, I wish that I had the talent to create the illustrations, but I don't. It's Victor Giza. He is the illustrator. He lives in Mexico, so not that far from y'all. He's closer to you than he is to me right now. And when we illustrated Treasure Kai Shark Island, to the first book, he and I illustrated that whole book communicating by email. So we never talked to each other. We never saw each other. I sent him the text and he did the illustrations. Now we work a lot live on Skype. So if we're struggling with anything, he can show me his screen on Skype just as we're doing right now. And he can draw right in front of me on the computer and color in and that sort of thing. So we work very much as a team when it comes to doing the visuals for Treasure Kai. And that shark's something else, isn't it? Thanks for your question. Bye.
Okay, Seth?
Thank you.
Okay, this is Seth.
Hi, Seth. Nice to meet you, Seth.
Hello. Nice to meet you too. What gave you the ideas for the Treasure Kai?
What gave me the idea for Treasure Kai? Well, as I mentioned before, it was a problem. And the problem was my kids weren't keen to read for fun. So what would happen is they would go to the library and they'd get books out of the library and they'd start them, but they'd almost never finish a book. And I found it really sad. Like we would sit down and we'd read together, and they would finish the book then, but on their own, they just weren't motivated to finish a book. And then I had that dream I told you about a new kind of book where each time you turn the page, you had to do something. And Treasure Kai, the reason it's a treasure hunt is that kids are motivated to finish reading the story as they read until they find the gold. So that is kind of the idea came from a problem more so than a creative inspiration of, oh, I want to write a treasure hunt adventure about a little boy named Kai. So great question, Seth.
Thank you. I didn't realize that was pretty similar to the other one previously.
Not a problem, Miss Moore. You never know.
Okay. Okay, this is Reagan.
Hi, Reagan. Nice to meet you.
And Reagan says she Skypes with her grandmother
Oh, do
a lot.
you? Where does your grandmother live?
She lives in Lavecca, Arkansas.
Oh, okay. Well, isn't it nice that you can communicate by Skype like that?
Yes, ma'am. Is there a treasure chest for each level?
There are treasure chests for each level. So in Treasure Kai and the Lost Gold of Shark Island, yes, there is a treasure chest for each adventure story, and there's one illustration for each adventure story, except for the one story, the backstory has 2 illustrations. And in the next book, there are also treasure chests as well, and there's one for each level. So yes, there is. Thanks, Reagan. Do you have another question? Yes?
Did you feel like you accomplished what you wanted after you created Treasure Kai?
Oh, wow, what a great question. Yes, I do. And surprisingly, even more than I had hoped, because I get letters and emails from kids and parents and teachers just saying how much their kids love Treasure Kai and how many times they read it over and over again, and that they have fun reading and they want to read it. And that's amazing. So yes, I do feel like I accomplished what I wanted to achieve, and I'm looking forward to writing a lot more. Those are good questions, Reagan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have one more, and this little boy's name is Corey.
Hi, Corey.
What steps did it take to make the app?
Oh, Corey, that's a great question. What steps did it take to make the app? Okay, so the starting of making an app is a lot like making a book. You start with a terrific story. You have to have a terrific story. And then I'm going to talk more in general as opposed to my app. I'll look at the second app. Then what you do is you take the story and you think about the app format. You think about, okay, how do I want people to interact with this app? How do I want people to touch it and feel it and that sort of thing? And then work with the illustrator to make sure we have the illustrations for the app. So the first step is great story, and then kind of planning. So if you have an idea of what you want the app to do, then you know what you need your illustrations to do and how the illustrations need to work with the story. And then once we had the story and the illustrations in place, then what we did was we took each illustration page by page by page, and we started picking out on each page what we wanted to happen. So what sound effects, if you touch something, what made sounds, what animations we wanted to have, and that sort of thing. So we put that out all on a brief. And then from there, we had to work with a sound person to identify the sound effects. So you have to actually go source and make some of the sound effects, you know, whether it's the sound when the shark jumps out of the water or the sound of the snake hissing or whatnot. And then we had the music composer looks at that page by page by page brief and writes the music that goes along with each page and the action that's happening in each page. And then once you have all those pieces, you have the illustrations and you have the sound effects and you have the music and you have the text or the words, then the developer, the programmer, sits down and starts programming everything. So those are most of the steps, and many of those steps are involved with a traditional book as well. If whether you're doing a printed book or you're doing an app, you still need to plan, have a great story and have illustrations and know what your design is going to be. You have to know how your text and your illustrations are going to work together on a page. But where we start to differ is when it comes to the book app, you get to source the sound effects and the music and think about the animations and the interactivity. And then, of course, you have to do the programming as well. So that's a really great question. Thanks for that question.